Well, hello everyone. It's the Transform Your Birth podcast, and I have a return family, gorgeous family. I just adore them. I've, done a lot of my work, and I'm so blessed. I get to know these people and fall in love with them and their kids. It's Bilal and Chelsea and little Sammy, and he's so cute. But that aside, my recollection of Bilal and Chelsea's first podcast was very much around, we talked a lot about body work and preparation and all the, she did all the right things. And then, talking about this pregnancy, it was a very, very different experience. So tell us, Chelsea, you can start us off. How are you feeling about this pregnancy and what sort of preparation did you do this time?
I'm a chiropractor, as is Bilal, my husband. So that's a huge part of the body work that you're obviously mentioning now, and that's something I definitely did throughout this pregnancy. As I got adjusted a lot.
Hmm.
I would say mentally, I was really struggling with the concept of having two kids and what that would look like, and
Yeah.
obviously that comes with a pregnancy. And I think I got in my own head a lot because I had a much less enjoyable time pregnant second time round than what I did first time round.
Yeah.
A lot of angst and stress and worry. And I had morning sickness until well past 20 weeks.
Oh.
And then a lot of fatigue in the last few weeks. So I think I had about a 6 week period of like the second trimester that everyone talks about being the good trimester. I think mine was only about a 6 week period. Something else that was a really interesting one for me is I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I just wouldn't be able to get back to sleep. And that would
Mm.
be where I started my day. So my beautiful toddler was sleeping through the night and I was not. And I was like, what's going on? And I would just be awake from those days and then go to work and back that up with parenting and all that. So it was a very
Got tired.
different experience from
Mm.
that sense.
Can I ask a quick question about that? Is there any link between this 3 a.m. wake up and little Sammy now?
No. My friend is doing some additional women's health study, and apparently it is a bit of a link with blood sugars.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
And
what does happen in pregnancy is the quality of your sleep changes,
mm,
hmm
and it just is there to highlight that we often don't need as much sleep as what we
mm
think.
mm
But of course, blood chemistry and things like that are always going to play, and organ function are going to play a role in sleep and sleep cycles. So that's
mm,
interesting.
hmm
mm.
Yeah. And how are you feeling about the idea of having a second baby, Bilal?
I'm loving it now that he's here.
You
Um,
found the pregnancy easy, did you?
yeah. I won't speak to that, and I won't get myself into trouble. It is really interesting going from having a child to then being pregnant and going through it again.
Mm.
Admittedly, while we always anticipated a second child, this wasn't planned at this
Mm.
time. So I'll be open to say that. And I think what you grapple with that's different to the first time round, you really can dedicate all your resources to being present for a pregnancy and the birth of the child. The second time round, you've got a beautiful little human there. So
Mm.
a lot of it is now, how much energy do I have? How much time do I have? Where do I put
Yeah.
my focus? And for me, there was definitely a reflection of, where's my headspace and my presence at? So even more so than the first pregnancy. So
Mm.
that was my experience. I was really excited actually. So maybe a bit different to Chelsea's, um,
Yeah.
experience and not to take anything from that, away from that. But I
I
was
think
just
you had to
excited.
dull some of your excitement because it was not the same level
I
that I
did,
was
and
at.
and and at the same time, it was cool. I was okay with Bubs coming, so I was like, bring it on. It was a surge of motivation.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Mm.
So, how did the labor unfold this time, or didn't unfold actually?
So we had such a beautiful experience first time round that we were really motivated to have a home birth this time.
Hmm.
So we were through the hospital, there's a home birth program. We had our birth pool here all ready to go. We had nearly everything ready for the day of. So my waters broke. It was a Wednesday, which is the day that our daughter is in daycare, which is what they tell you. They say when baby comes, when you've already got one, they either come on the day your kid's in daycare or overnight. So that was quite funny, but I was only 38 plus 2. So we
Okay.
were going to use that Wednesday when she was in daycare to finalize all of our supplies. And also because we were intending to have a home birth, I didn't have a hospital bag packed because
Mm.
that wasn't the plan. So there were a few things we still needed. So my waters broke at 10 in the morning. And I called Bilal and he was like, "Ooh, we're about to go out to Kmart today and get all those things." So he was able to go and get all of those and then rush home to me, which was great. And I was like, "Don't worry, there'll be plenty of time. Just take your time, get here when you do." I was still all very relaxed. I had the classic, um, for me, that is the waters breaking before anything else started.
Hmm.
A few hours went by and nothing happened.
Mm.
Nothing happened at all. So at about 3 o'clock, we went to the hospital so they could do all the fetal checks and just make sure everything was fine. And
How
Bub
long
was,
after that was your waters breaking? Till they wanted
so it was
you
about
in there?
5 hours after waters broke. Nothing had still happened. Just went into the midwife for a check. I think I was due to have an appointment that day. Yeah, it was just my regular appointment
Mm.
that I was due to have that day. Um, Went in for all of our checks and hospital staff couldn't have been happier. They were like,
Mm.
everything was fantastic, very happy in there. But just no contractions. So they sent us on our way back home and said, you still qualify within the home birth program if things go within 24 hours of waters breaking. So we'll give you a call tomorrow morning if you don't give us a call overnight when we hope that this baby will come. And we will, hear from you at that next point. So our daughter stayed at Bilal's parents that night. And I woke up at 7:30 in the morning and nothing had happened yet.
Mm. Did you
So,
feel at all one of the challenges that can happen when waters break at the beginning and nothing sort of unfolds from there?
mm,
It can invoke this desire and need to try and control and make things happen. Did you feel the pressure to make things happen?
um, I was pretty exhausted. So I know, like I've heard some people, go out curb walking and climb
Mm.
stairs and do squats and do all that. And I didn't do a lot of that. I did
Mm.
some of that, but I didn't do a huge amount.
Yeah.
And I think that ties back into probably my mindset of that I wasn't quite ready for this to
Mm.
happen yet. And I
Mm.
thought it was a bit early as well.
So
Yeah.
if I can add to
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I think, well, 24 hours had passed, which excluded us from the home birth program, which meant we ended up going to the hospital, and it was still a midwife led birth that was assisted. So what was really incredible was there was an induction that happened, and he didn't take once contraction started um, going. Sammy, he was born maybe 2 hours after that point, so he wasn't far off it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what we planned, but it was from my perspective too. What I learned through your course was still really applicable at that point too, and very important. One, to be support for Chelsea, because naturally, there was a disappointment with not having the home birth available at that point,
Mm.
but also keeping her mind on track that,
Mm.
that there's still this beautiful human waiting to arrive. So, you need to, even amongst all the exhaustion, to put your focus into, okay, cool, I'm going to be present
Mm.
with this, labor as much as possible. So I think, kudos to Chelsea for just being kind of back into it, was ready to birth our boy, and she did it so beautifully,
Mm.
even with induction, which we know can lead to other complications.
Mm. So coming back then on that realization, Chelsea,
Mm.
Were you able to adapt mentally to the change of plan?
Yes and no. So what I do remember is one of my least favorite parts of last birth was the car ride to the hospital because I
Yeah.
was in contractions. So driving to the hospital this time in no contractions was actually really lovely. I was comfortable, so that like there were aspects that was really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I was nervous about is because the waters had broken, the only tool in the hospital's repertoire was oxytocin
Mm.
or syntocin.
Yeah,
And I was
syntocin. Yeah.
really nervous about the cascade of intervention
Mm.
changing rapidly from kind of my, particularly, I guess, the ideal scenario of a home birth of what we wanted
Yeah.
into
Which is a
then
low
I was really
intervention.
nervous that things wouldn't progress and then I would be stuck in their times of what had to happen. And I voiced this to my midwife who was wonderful about it. Um, that that if in
Mm.
2 hours nothing has happened, then we have to add something else, and we have to add something else.
Mm.
So I was very nervous about that. Um, before commencing the Syntose, and I just kind of shared that with her. And she was really wonderful in helping me with that
Mm.
mental hurdle. But it was a big change. It's gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think that's what allowed you to adapt quicker
Yeah.
as well.
yeah. I love to hear, the care. This is the benefit of having relationships with the people that are caring for you, where you can speak honestly with
Mm,
someone who's prepared, who's there just for you. She's not being called between three or four different rooms,
yeah.
Hmm.
who's there just for you, has a relationship with you, knows what's important to you and what isn't.
Mhm.
And, when certainly in the way that I try to prepare families is for birth under all circumstances, so that if you're going down one path and you have to pivot, that you're able to roll with that and still bring all your tools and anchoring yourself to your ability to stay calm and
Hmm.
Yeah.
optimizing that hormonal release and still
Hmm.
feeling the care of your partner and all of that, then, we can pivot and adjust. And that's life, isn't it? I mean, you just
Hmm.
never know where life's going to take you.
Yeah.
Mm,
But I think that the challenge in any situation like that is, well, one, there's that birth readiness, which
mm,
is, oh, this is early. I'm not ready. I
mm,
didn't have my nesting, which sort of got me to the point where I was just, I call it the effort moment, where you're just ready for anything, where you're in that lovely nesting phase, and then you just get sick of being pregnant. You're like, rightio, bring it on. And then the woman releases, she has this emotional release, and then she's created those beautiful conditions for labor to start. And when that doesn't happen and you're being caught on the hop a little bit of
mm,
adjusting from, okay, we thought it was going to be a home birth and now it's going to be in the hospital. And we thought that labor would start and now we're going to have to help it continue. It can be a lot to get your head around. How do you think, Chelsea, you were able to, like, what helped you to adapt in that way?
Um, it would definitely be the support of the midwife and Bilal while I
Yeah.
was there for sure. But something we definitely spoke about on our car ride into hospital was, we're not leaving without a baby. Like
Ah, yeah.
was a
Nice.
big, and that was a really lovely kind of reframe, is
Mm.
that our baby's coming today, one way or another, because
Yeah.
it had been that 24-hour period where they
Mm.
obviously want things to happen for risk of infection. So that was a really lovely,
Mm.
we're definitely meeting our bub today. This is
Mm.
happening.
Mm.
That's probably the most powerful thing
Yeah.
that we were able to use.
Mm. So
Yeah.
getting your mind on board, and yeah, it's so, women are so vulnerable in that space,
Mm.
to have people surrounding them who
Mm.
can just keep their mind in the game and guide them and love them through the unpredictable nature of where these journeys can take us.
We actually didn't have we were in the continuity program, but we didn't have the midwife that we were with continuity with. It was her
Right.
buddy, her
Yeah.
buddies. Hadn't met her. No, I hadn't met her prior to. But she was lovely. She was
Ah,
really, and
good.
obviously a really good handover
Yeah.
had been done because I was in the day before
Mm.
with labour not progressing. So they
Yeah.
had done that really well because if nothing developed, then she knew that she'd be handing my cakes on based on her shifts. So when I did speak to Piper about it, she reassured me that they would titrate my Syntocin really slowly and that
Yeah.
we'd be able to do some things. Something else that was quite interesting is that when I arrived, she did a check for me to see how far progressed I was, and with no contractions, she said I was 3 to 4 centimeters.
Mm-hmm.
And she also said that she would write 3 in her report to give me kind of that extra time per
Yeah.
se
Yeah.
in terms of progression after hearing what I had said about the nervousness of that cascade of intervention. So that
Yeah.
was really lovely.
Well, let's get into the thick of that now
Mm,
because in most hospitals and the policies are around if you were having a home birth, they'd probably give you a lot longer
mm,
and say things like, don't have sex, don't go and swim in public pools, and, to
mm,
minimize risk of infection. And if you're at home, the chance of infection are very, very low,
mm.
unless you do something weird and wonderful with your vagina. I don't know. What else is going to get in there? Um, sorry, that's
That's
a
all right.
bad visual, wasn't it? Um, so I forgot where I was going with that, but they're having to adjust to this new process.
Mm,
The process of induction can work very well if it mimics a normal labour.
mm,
And typically, in an induction process, they would look at the cervix and see what it's doing and try to get the cervix to dilate. But yours already was, which was really good
had
news.
started. Yeah.
Secondly, they would break your waters. Well, that had already happened. And
Mhm.
third, then they bring in the syntocinon. And
Mhm.
as Chelsea said, they were going to titrate it gradually over time. And that's something always to ask if you're facing an induction.
Mm,
Mhm.
It works well if it mimics a normal labour. The problem we have with inductions is if we put too much in too soon. And
Yeah.
every woman has a different metabolic response to those drugs, and
mm,
how that responds with her body is going to be very individual. And if it's not watched and checked, it can be too much too soon for both the mother and the baby, and then you're off having a Caesar because baby gets distressed.
Mhm.
So it must have been very reassuring that they were totally on board with the way you wanted to approach
absolutely.
that.
And
Yeah.
they definitely did it very slowly
Yeah.
because I had an hour sleep once
Right.
my Syntocin started.
Oh,
So
hallelujah.
nothing happened. I was
Yeah.
very able to, I was very exhausted, obviously,
Yeah.
at that point in pregnancy, but also they said, do you want, have a nap? See if we can maybe get through. And then
Yeah.
I can't remember if I woke up from contractions or if I woke up and contractions started soon after. Do you remember?
I think, oh, you're testing
Anyway,
my memory.
they were still pretty
Pretty
mellow when
mellow.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
remember them happening.
Yeah.
Mm. I was like, oh, maybe that's one. That was kind of my reaction. So they were very calm to begin with, but then they definitely ramped up after that. Oh, that was something else that was reassuring for me. I had requested a room with a pool.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
they were able to have one for me because I loved that experience last time.
Mm.
Which
Nice.
which is key to this story. So there was definitely one available.
Yeah. So tell us how it unfolded. Bilal, how did she respond? You would have been watching. What did you notice?
During labor, active labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, one thing that I said in the our first interview that still applied today is Chelsea's not she won't give obvious signs other than contraction and that's it. Um, so it kind of ramped up. It really happened quick, and she was amazing, and I was just with her the whole time to just make sure that she's comfortable, she's, focusing on the right thing. So she was, there's something to say about doing it the second time around and kind of being somewhat familiar. So she was very calm throughout the active labor. Um, there was a point where she got tired and she felt like it was more intense than doing it with the first sort of birth that we had.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, that was probably the turn for her and into the next
Transition.
stage. Yeah, the
Mm.
transition. And um, That's all it was. It was this is hard. It was like not it wasn't this big thing. And so I just kept encouraging her and saying, hey, you're actually doing really well. And she was navigating it well, and she did amazing as she did the first time around. And then I think she got to a point where she said, yep, I want to put myself in the pool. I'd sort of noticed that point a little earlier, and I told the midwives to turn on the water and start filling it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, she kind of was she just knew where she was without knowing, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I was
and
going to say
it,
I did not know where I
and
was,
and
but
and and it's not about the so much the conscious control, but rather
Mm.
just listening to the rhythms and then following
Mm,
those rhythms. And
mm.
in that moment, she just said, "Yeah, I need to get into that pool."
Wow.
And it was perfect timing because he was
Yeah.
born.
I don't know. I was going to say
Yeah,
I remember with daughter, I was in the pool for about 2.5 hours before he
yeah,
arrived. So that moment of it being really hard, I was like, oh, I think I just need like a bit of reprieve.
Yeah.
It's where it felt. One thing additional that we had is we had the constant fetal monitoring, and it was
Mm.
a band and around my belly, and so they could. And we had a lot of troubles keeping it on because I was doing a lot of movement in the room,
Yeah.
constantly going to the toilet as you do. Um, and then when I got in the bath, they had the waterproof version that they could put on. And she basically had to like push it into my belly while it was on there. So that was not enjoyable either. So I was in my happy place on all fours in the bath, and she was like, "Oh, can you roll over onto your back?" And I rolled over, and she pushed the monitor onto my belly,
Whoa.
and I was like, "Oh, it's go time." Because I thought I was maybe going to be in there for 2 hours or so, like I was last time, because it's that comparison and that you
Yeah.
do. And he was born 20 minutes later. So
Wow.
my active labor, there was 2 hours of kind of no reaction to the Syntocin.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 2 hours of active labor, and there was 20 minutes in the pool, and he was
Mm.
born
the
in those
transition.
20
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chels, how did the sensations feel with the Cinto compared to what you had first time?
I definitely recall it being more intense second time round.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And it is that Syntocin doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier,
Mm.
that I didn't get that natural impact. And that's where I felt the contractions were a lot more intense.
Mm.
But also, your mind has a clever way of getting you to forget what it was like first time round. But I do think it was a lot more intense.
Mm. But it was a
Also,
lot shorter too.
because of the
Mm-hmm.
speed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, he was a bigger baby.
Mm.
He was an extra 500 grams bigger. So I'm really
Yeah.
glad he didn't come much later than when he did.
He wasn't undercooked.
Nope.
No. See,
Nope.
this is the thing people have got to realize. We think this magic number of 40 weeks is full term. Actually, full term is 37 weeks.
Mm.
95% of babies are born between 37 and 42 weeks. So babies at 37 weeks are not necessarily, or 38 in your case, are not necessarily early.
They also changed my due date at the seven
Mm.
week scan.
Right.
And I obviously am aware of the date that I conceived.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he was actually 39.
Okay.
And
Well,
then
there you go.
that's quite reasonable for him
Yeah.
to be the size he was.
My granddaughter was born at 42 weeks
Ooh,
and she did not look at all overcooked.
overcooked.
She was
Mm.
perfect.
Yeah.
So it just took them longer to cook.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you remember what you were doing with your mind, Chels, in that intensity?
I just remember I was looking for something else for relief. So
Mm.
we were using the TENS machine outside of the bath. I was obviously definitely doing my breathing during those contractions
Mm.
because it was very intense. I remember not liking the comb last time
Mhm.
until I was in the water, and so I used that heavily once we got in the bath.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I used the shower.
It was a different environment,
Yeah, it
but
was a different environment.
yeah.
I definitely did a lot of hanging onto you,
Correct.
my
Yep.
arms up around his kind of neck, and then kind of letting my pelvis relax and rock from side to
Mm,
side. That was definitely a
mm,
Movement.
strategy that worked well.
Yeah,
yeah.
movement was
Did you
key.
do a lot of counter pressure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used just counter pressure on the pelvis, different times, different angles, just
Mm,
based on what she needed, her responses. Yeah, she was leaning on me when she had some of the contractions.
mm,
Yeah, only that 2 hour period.
Yeah, there were a couple moments where she said it was intense, so I just decided to, sink breathing and told her to just follow my breath and we'll do it together.
yeah.
Um, for the rest of it though, she did pretty amazing, and if you were observing it from a third person, you'd think, wow, that was pretty smooth. Like it went really well. So.
Mm,
Um, Chelsea didn't. What I was observing is she doesn't really overthink in those instances. I think,
mm,
like I said, this time around, her saying it felt intense was like more, it was the only thing that was going through it, like and that was it. There was no panic. There was no.
mm. She was very
Um,
calm.
yeah, it
Mm,
wasn't this, oh my God, I'm struggling or I'm not going to make it.
mm,
But there was an acknowledgement of, yep, cool,
Mm.
this is
mm,
quite intense and hard, and that was really it. So
mm.
you could really see she was just in a zone, and
Yeah.
I was just there,
Mm.
just supporting her during all of that.
Mm.
So tell us, both of you, what was it like when Sammy landed? Like with that moment of meeting?
It was so wonderful. It really was.
Yeah.
Lifting him up onto my chest. I think too, it was definitely a lot of relief because the intensity stopped, which was nice.
Yeah.
Um, but it was phenomenal.
And then he just came up and he just snuggled in.
He did straight away.
Straight away, like he just knew, cool. I
And
know where I'm at. This,
we didn't know if he was going to be a girl or a boy. And last time you got to sneak a peek and you knew what Maha was before me. But he was straight on my chest and no one saw anything. And I don't think we found out for about 10 minutes. We were
Wow.
just holding this beautiful baby and appreciating his arrival.
It's funny,
Mm.
isn't it? People
Yeah,
forget to look.
phenomenal.
yeah.
I find that amusing.
They had the towel straight on to kind of keep it.
Yeah.
And I do remember very awkwardly getting out of the bath, and then after we dried him off for a little bit, then we had a look.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So
It
that's
was
always,
revealed.
it was
yeah,
revealed.
it's always a nice experience.
Mm.
So you veterans, you've had two now.
Oof.
Let me hear what advice would you give to or not advice, but what wise thoughts would you give to someone preparing to have a baby? I'd like to hear from both of you.
Definitely have some flexibility to pivot from your plan.
Mm,
Mm.
nice. Yeah.
It's so hard because you want to lay down a plan because you want that manifestation of your ideal journey and
Mm,
your ideal scenario. But
yeah.
we reflected that we still had a really beautiful birth and it was completely different to what we wanted.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
takeaways for us is we still got our water birth, we still got a wonderful environment with our music playing and our fairy lights there, and us being together and welcoming a beautiful baby into this world.
Mm,
But it was in the suites, which last time we had the birth center, it wasn't at home. There
yeah.
were lots of things that were really different.
Mm,
Um, but we were still very much able to appreciate the magic that had just happened.
yeah. Beautiful. And
Mm.
Bilal, what about you? What wise words would you offer?
There's something beautiful about pregnancy and birth, and I would say it's something that carries through to life, which is you don't need to be in control of how it happens. We've evolved generations and this is the one process where, you got to really trust your body. And while there's having some information and knowledge is really good.
Mm.
Not to overthink, not to um, not to doubt if it can be done or not, but to actually learn to really trust your body and trust that things will happen the way they're meant to in a beautiful way.
Mm.
And so that's, that's me trying to really contain my my wisdom into something really simplistic.
Mm. Mm. So very true.
Mm,
Well, my darlings, that's another wonderful inspirational story reminding us that we've got what it takes to welcome these babies calmly, gently, lovingly, under all circumstances, if we choose to get our minds in the game and work together as a team like Chelsea and Bilal, very, very solid team together. It takes, a family to bring these babies in, and I would encourage you to really appreciate the roles that both the birthing woman and the people she loves with her um, have a very significant role to play. That sometimes plan A goes to plan B and sometimes even plan C. And it doesn't mean that anything's been lost, it's just a different pathway.
mm,
And that really is what parenting is about. We can't control parenting, we can't control birth, but we can influence it. And we do our best to just pivot and work with what life presents us and what our children present us. And Sammy gave you both a great lesson in letting go of any ideals and working with what is. So I hope
mm.
you've enjoyed today's episode. It's been a joy for me to connect with this beautiful family again. And I'll see you. Hopefully, you'll tune in again for our next story. Thanks for listening. Bye.